In this lesson, we're going to learn how to solve quadratic equations, and we're going to solve them by factoring. We're going to use what's called the zero product property, which if you remember, we also used when we were finding the zeros of a quadratic equation in factored form. The zero product property says if you have two things being multiplied together to equal 0, then one of those two things must be 0. Now we have two things that are a little bit more complicated looking, but the same principle applies. One of those two things must be equal to 0. Our essential question for today and tomorrow is how do you solve quadratic equations? Our first one is already factored. We have something times something equals 0. So either the first something must be 0 or the second something must be 0. And then we solve each equation separately. Our first equation will add 2 to both sides and divide both sides by 3. Remember, these are zeros on a graph, so we write it as an ordered pair. 2/3 is our x value because y was 0. The second one, we will subtract 2 from both sides and divide both sides by 5. So our 0, our ordered pair, would be -2/5 for x because y was 0. Our next example is not in factored form, so we need to put it in factored form. We'll set up our t-chart. What multiplies to 39 and adds to -16. The only numbers other than 1 and 39 that multiply to 39 are 3 and 13. In order to add to a negative, we need to have at least one number be negative, but to multiply to a positive, we need both numbers to be negative. So -3 and -13 work, factoring this x minus 3, x minus 13 equals 0. And then we set each set of parentheses equal to 0 because now we have multiplication equaling 0. Our first equation, we add 3 to both sides. So we get our ordered pair x is 3 when y was 0. Our second equation, we add 13 to both sides. So we get an ordered pair x is 13 because y was 0. Our second example, notice we have a coefficient for our x squared. We cannot set up the t-chart when we have a coefficient for x squared. Because this is an equation, I can divide everything, golden rule, both sides, by that -1 to get rid of the coefficient. That leaves me with x squared minus 19x minus 20 equals 0 divided by -1 is still 0. Now we can set up our t-chart. What multiplies to -20 and adds to -19. -20 times 1 is -20, and -20 plus 1 gives us that -19. So we factor this into x minus 20 times x plus 1. And then we can set each set of parentheses equal to 0. Solving our first equation by adding 20 to both sides. Our ordered pair would be 20, 0. And the second one, we will subtract 1 from both sides. So our ordered pair x is -1 when y is 0. All right, on this one, we need to get it equal to 0 before we get started. So I'm going to add that 98 over to both sides. We have 2x squared plus 28x plus 98 because I added the 98 to cancel the -98. And -98 plus 98 on the right-hand side gives us 0. We have a coefficient of x squared again, so I'm going to divide everything on both sides by that 2 to get rid of the coefficient. X squared plus 14x plus 49 equals 0. Now that the coefficient of x squared is 1, we can set up our t-chart. We're multiplying to 49 and adding to 14. The only numbers besides 1 and 49 that multiply to 49, 7 times 7, and 7 plus 7 gives us the 14. So we can factor this as x plus 7 squared equals 0. We only have one set of parentheses, so we set what's in that one set of parentheses equal to 0. Subtracting 7 from both sides, we only get one solution on this one, -7 for x, 0 for y. Same problem on this one, we do not have it equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract the 4x squared from both sides. I'm going to put this in order, so I'm going to put the -4x squared first so that it's in standard form. You've got to have that x squared term first, or it could throw you off with your factoring. We've got that coefficient of -4, so I'm going to divide everything by -4, leaving me with x squared minus 9x. 0 divided by -4 is still 0. And now we have a common factor. Both of my terms have an x, so I'm going to divide x out of both terms. X squared divided by x is x. You can also think of this with your distributive property. X times x gives me the x squared, and then 9x divided by x leaves me with 9. We only have one set of parentheses, but there is still something times something equaling 0. So we're going to set x equal to 0, and we're going to set x minus 9 equal to 0. Our first equation is already solved, so we have x is 0 when y is 0. Our second equation, adding that 9 to both sides, we get x equals 9. So our ordered pair x is 9 when y is 0. And you have 2 U-Try questions today.